Hello, and welcome to the Come to Your Senses podcast. I'm your host, embodiment-based coach, Mary Lofgren. Here, we explore how to live bravely and beautifully through a lifestyle of embodiment. You'll hear gems to empower you around mindset, mindfulness, somatic psychology, and neuroscience, as well as beauty, food, style, and the art of slow living to meet your soul through the senses. I am so happy that you're here. Let's begin. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Come to Your Senses. Welcome to a tour of my nightstand. Whenever I request ideas for episodes, which, by the way, you can always request an idea for an episode at schoolofsensualliving.com/want. I love hearing your ideas and your personal requests and questions that you might like to have answered here on the podcast. But the most resounding request is always around these simple, accessible rituals that can help pave a way for more sensuality, more pleasure, and more mindfulness. And more than mindfulness, that state of saturated presence that is so native to the experience of being in your body and being in your senses. And if your nightstand or bedside table is cluttered with books and random objects and pens, as mine has often been, today's episode is going to show you how to create an oasis of pleasure and sensuality and inspiration in your bedroom. So I am so excited to take you through my personal trousseau of treasures that help create this homey kind of sensuality that we practice here at Come to Your Senses. You know, when it comes to sensuality, the most common archetype of the goddess archetypes that is associated with sensuality is Aphrodite or Venus. Our girl, love her. But Come to Your Senses is really actually about desexualizing sensuality and making it simply an everyday experience of pleasure through being in your body, through the senses. And so the goddess that I most relate to when it comes to that is Hestia or Vesta. She is represented by the hearth of the home, warm, cozy, powerful, sovereign, devoted to herself and her own inner flame. And so this tiny little portal we call your bedside table is a way to access that warmth and that ease that is created through simple sensual pleasures. So with that, let's dive into our gems on creating an oasis of sensual living through crafting and curating your nightstand. So the first gem or the first practice that I suggest is to just think about your nightstand as it currently is and what you find there, what you have there. And then starting to think about what are all the things that you do in your bedroom. So in my bedroom, I do everything from give myself luxurious, sweet self-belly massages with fragrant oil to freaking out with anxiety before bed and needing something to calm myself down, to self-pleasuring, to flossing and cutting my fingernails. It's a real amalgam of activities that happen in the bedroom. And typically, the nightstand is usually a place where we might keep one or two of those objects, but I find it really helpful to take a bit of an inventory of what you may want or need accessible just a hand reach away. Steve Jobs was very famous for saying that form follows function. So in other words, the iPhone and the whole Apple line of products is so beautifully and streamlined in its design. And yet, the reason we buy Apple products isn't just because they look great. It's because they really, really work and they're really customized to what we need. And so that is just to say that focusing solely on beauty when it comes to creating any corner of your home, I have found only leads to clutter and really the unbeautiful. So when I think about, times in the past where I would try to create my nightstand totally based on beauty, there would always be the odd strand of dental floss or nail clipper out on the surface. And so all of that is just to say that equally important to the form of beauty is the function of beauty. And so that leads us to how to assemble your nightstand. And I am going to go through some suggestions and ideas in order of sense. So we're going to go through the 5 senses, including your 6th sense. And we're going to start with your sense of touch. So when you think about the different types of touch that you experience in bed or that you may want to experience in bed, some suggestions for a trousseau next to your nightstand might be a fragrant body oil. My personal favorite comes from a company called Kate's Magic, and their Sphinx Moth body oil is intoxication in a bottle. Cannot recommend it highly enough. It is an extremely fragrant, yet totally artificial fragrance-free oil that I recommend and buy for all of my clients. I also recommend having a hot water bottle nearby your bed. Hot water bottles are such a lovely way to give yourself, especially if you don't share your bed with someone and you don't have that warmth of body to snuggle up with. There is this radiant heat that happens from the warmth of the water. And you can also acquire a fabulous hot water bottle cover that makes it so much fun to use. Feels a little hospital-esque when you're just flopping that red rubber bottle around, but you can go on Etsy and there are even hot water bottle covers that have different goddesses on them. So if you wish to have the goddess Isis splayed across your pelvis, or if you would like to put Mother Mary under your tailbone as you go to bed at night, that is an option. Of course, having whatever items you need for your sexual trousseau, such as lubricant or prophylactic. I get bashful when I say the word condoms. Lubricant, I love. There's this product by the company Coco de Mer, COCODEMER. They're a lingerie company, and they also have these lubricants that come in the most gorgeous bottles. And so if you'd like to have your lubricant on your nightstand displayed or even not displayed, but to have an experience of beauty, you can pick one up at Coco de Mer. They're a British company. So if you live here in the United States like I do, you might have to fly it across the pond, or you can find a beautiful vintage perfume bottle or some gorgeous bottle that you might like to pour your favorite lubricant in order to have that experience of beauty. Next, we move into aroma. And some of the things that I love to have on my bedside are things that help me wake up in the morning and wind down at night. Scent is our most emotionally driven sense. And so in these tender times of right before going to sleep or right when you wake up, these are times where your emotional body is very visible and open in a way that it may not be as you're going through your daily routine. And one of my favorite ways to include aroma is to have essential oils that speak to the different emotions that I want to cultivate at those times. And I will say that I don't actually have a drawer on my nightstand, but I do have this lovely little metal box. It looks like kind of a cupcake, and I don't remember where I picked it up, probably at some home design store, some little boutique somewhere. But another option you could get is like an old jewelry box at a thrift shop or vintage shop or on Etsy. There's all sorts of things that you can use for inventive storage options that aren't just kind of like a Tupperware container. But anyway, I keep those in my little trousseau. I have a body oil in there. I have my essential oils. And so at night, I'll use something like lavender. And lavender is one of the only essential oils that can be applied directly to the skin without a carrier oil. And so I'll take the lavender and I'll massage it between my hands and take a few deep, deep inhales and exhales. And then I will massage the bottoms of my feet. The palms of the hands and the soles of the feet are some of the fastest entry points for essential oils to move their way into the bloodstream. And essential oils don't just have a calming or uplifting effect on our mood through their aroma. They actually penetrate into our bloodstream and have a biological, physiological effect on our bodies. And so sometimes I'll put it on my hands and feet, and then I'll put a little bit on my tailbone. I might put a little bit on my heart. And for me, breathing exercises, for example, can sometimes be even more activating at night when I'm feeling anxious, if I'm just sitting there trying to take deep breaths. So having this dance partner of aroma and essential oil here on my heart, it's like it gives my little nose something to tango with and encourages deeper breaths and more of that sensory sensitivity. In the morning, I might use something like lemon or something like peppermint or eucalyptus, or I might use something floral like rose to arouse my feminine sensibilities and energize me. And these are all oils that have an energizing effect. However, I do want to caution that with things like eucalyptus and lemon, those are quite active oils. And so I would recommend purchasing an oil that, maybe comes in a carrier oil so that you're not applying that directly to the skin, which can be irritating and sensitizing. Our next sense is our sense of sight. So I love having on my nightstand, well, really all over my house, you can see coffee table books and poetry books and just books I really feel like communicate my essence and start conversations. And I feel like are representative of me. I use those to decorate my home and have stacks of them with objects on top of them. So, for example, in my bedroom, I have 3 books right now. One is called Miracle in the Mundane, which is a fabulous book about human connection and being a human in this wild and wonderful world that we're in. And there's also Home Sweet Maison, which is about the French art of decorating your home. And then there's one more that I can't remember right now. And on top of those books, I have my little box where I keep all my accoutrements. And so having your favorite books, like what I love about that is that in the morning or at night, where I'm alone with my thoughts, it can be so helpful to have a little inspiration and invitation to ground into. Of course, involving the sense of sight speaks to anything rooted in beauty. And so I love a bud vase on my nightstand, which is just a very simple, tiny little vase. You can get them at thrift stores. I also love to just keep spice jars, and sometimes I'll even gold leaf the bottom of the spice jar. That was taught to me by my friend Miranda Wildman, and that just gives it a little extra glamour and glitz. And just a single stem in a little bud vase can add so much beauty and richness to your nightstand. Next is taste. This was one I was reaching a little bit for because I don't like to have food in or really anywhere near my bed. But I do love having cough drops and Altoids in my little metal box that I was describing before. And, waking up in the middle of the night with a dry throat, but also you might find yourself in a position where you need a little breath refresh when you're in bed, especially if you're in bed with somebody else. And so having those little assistants near your bedside can be really lovely. And finally, sound. So there's all sorts of ways that we can incorporate sound into our lives in order to have that calming, soothing effect that we want at bedtime. One of my favorites is a playlist that I made called 100 Songs to Slow You Down. And you can find that. You can actually download that at schoolofsensualliving.com/100. We'll include a link to that in the show notes along with all of the fabulous accoutrement I'm mentioning today. And another suggestion that you may want to consider around the art of sound. Randy, buddy. That was my foster dog, Randolph, who was pawing at the door trying to get in. And I'm going to leave that in because I just love a blooper whenever I listen to other people's podcasts or watch a TV show. And so I hope you enjoyed that too. Imperfection is one of our core values here at Come to Your Senses. So with sound, one of the things that has dramatically changed my life is the inclusion of a white noise maker and a physical alarm clock so that I can keep my phone as far away from my bed as possible. If you are relying on your phone as your alarm or as your white noise, my friend, let me liberate you into a whole new world of freedom. So something that I do is I keep my white noise maker, about to invite you into my neuroses, but I keep my white noise maker in my closet with the door closed because then I can keep it louder, but it has like more of a muted sound. I'm a very sensitive sleeper. And then I have an analog alarm clock where I don't have, LED lights of numbers flashing in my face. It's just a little dial. It has no second hand, so I don't hear a thing. And I keep my phone in the bathroom, so it's close enough so that if some emergency were to happen and I needed to hear my phone ringing, I could. And sometimes what I'll do when I want to have sacred time away from my phone is I'll put an object of beauty on top of it. So when I put my phone in the bathroom at night, actually I don't run the risk of picking it up once it's in the bathroom, but if it's on a weekend, for example, and I want to have time away from my devices, but I feel stuck in that compulsive habit of just checking, is I'll put it down and I'll put like a crystal on top of it or a flower or something from my altar, something that possesses that essence of embodied beauty to create a bit of a barrier between me and this device and to remind me of why I want to have some barriers and boundaries from the hypnotic seduction of social media, mainly as it pertains to our topic du jour, because of the way that devices pull me out of what's real. And I find that my body, in order for my body to relax and feel safe enough to go to sleep, it needs to feel the darkness of my room and the softness of my sheets and this quiet hum of the white noise. Like, it needs the real world, real life. Now, sometimes that's not exactly true. Sometimes I need to Downton Abbey myself to sleep, or I need to listen to a book on tape. And all of those are just methods of storytelling, just like when we were kids and someone might read you a book before you go to bed. But I do find that the soundest sleep that I experience usually happens after I have held a physical book in my hands or felt the weight of my hand on my heart with the warmth of a hot water bottle on my belly. And also when I wake up in the morning, having some sacred time with the realness and the physicality of my journal, my coffee, the morning sun, even if it's just 5 minutes before I pick up the intrusion of text messages and emails and all of that, really, really helps to set me up for serenity and presence throughout my day. And then the final thing, the final sense that I want to offer is our sixth sense, our intuition, the great mystery of that which inhabits our body and animates these five senses. And so for me, one of those items is Winnie, my dog who passed away almost a year ago. She had this little toy that was a little skunk, and it's very worse for the wearer. It's completely deflated and all the squeakies have been torn out and there's holes in it, but she loved it. And every night she would hide it in a new place in the house to keep it safe. So I sometimes will keep Skunk hidden under my pillow as a little love totem and a little reminder of the comfort that she continues to bring to my heart. I think the books that we keep on our nightstand are also a way to honor that sixth sense, the part of us that loves and is curious. And I'm just looking over at my nightstand right now, and that third book is a copy of Bohemian Magic by my friend Veronica Varlow, which is all about witchery and spell casting and taking the power of magic into your own elemental hands in a way that's very unique, very sensual, and highly recommend picking up that book. So, my friends, 23 minutes in, I thought this was going to be like a 7-minute episode, but apparently there's a lot that one can say on the topic of one's nightstand, and really just to bring that message to a close. You know, as I said at the start of this episode, everything that we do here at Come to Your Senses is really about bringing that feminine presence and sacredness to these tiny, tiny moments, because a beautiful life is made up of a collection of beautiful moments. And so I hope that this inspired you to make your bedstand or your nightstand into a portal, an oasis of sensuality and meaning. And one last tool or treasure that I would offer is on my website at schoolofsensualliving.com/relax, RELAX. There is a free 7-minute audio prayer poem called Lay Down Beauty. And it is a embodiment-based meditation with some different cues to activate and connect with some of the different centers of your body in a way that just invites you to lay down and lay it all down and relax into the natural intelligence of your body. So you can find that at schoolofsensualliving.com/relax. And if you enjoyed this episode, I would be so grateful and delighted to hear from you in a review, to see that you followed or subscribed to the podcast, or to see a 5-star rating. It means the world to me. And I wish you a beautiful rest of your week, and we will see you in the next episode. For coaching, classes, and community in creating a lifestyle of embodiment, head to schoolofsensualliving.com. There you'll find a free video series on how to reduce anxiety and intercept the stress response through powerful, confident body language. Head to schoolofsensualliving.com/confidence to watch your first video today.